We're now starting the 3 o'clock session on Auto Simply AC Chat and the jointly developed TeamWork solution with Auto Simply and Orchid Systems. Again, our presenter is Terrence Ang, the technical director of Auto Simply. Terrence?
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me just quickly share my slide here. So, again, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. For this part of our training, we will be focusing on the new AC Chat module for Sage 300. So, just to go through a very short slide before we go to the product itself, what is AC Chat? So essentially, it is actually a messaging solution designed exclusively for Sage 300. So by messaging solution, we are referring here to something like WhatsApp, Teams, Viber, or Kakao if you are using it. Nowadays, everybody is basically using one or two of this for daily communications. What typically happens is a lot of business communication is getting lost uh, between emails, chats, messaging, texting. And what we want to do with AC Chat is provide a uh, for business chat tool that can store all of the communication back and forth from different team members across the whole organization and have it stored within Sage 300. So you can see in this slide, basically we want to combine chat or chat apps with Sage, link it to the master files like customer item documents like SO, PO, shipment, invoice, and optional fields. Have the user be able to communicate back and forth, update optional fields, send images, attachments, and then also apply for requests and different applications. So that's in combination what AC Chat is meant to do. So in terms of main features, being a chat tool, number one would be instant messaging. So we want a official messaging tool for Sage 300 where people can communicate real time. We want to be able to update optional fields. So think of the different optional fields that you might be using in the SOPO, item master, customer master. So some of them could be status related. Some of them could be property or information about that particular master file. So right now in Sage, there is no easy way to update, populate these optional fields. Chat is the tool to do that. So aside from communicating with people, we can have somebody dispatch this information, have the proper person update it real time, and then have it stored in Sage. It does come with a very simple workflow. So when we say simple or full workflow, what we are referring here to is the possibility of just using AC Chat, one level approval for some transactions, versus having a full workflow, which is later on when we talk about teamwork, which makes full use of the workflow functionality of Extender to expand the scope of chat. We are also able to create custom table links. So if there are master files that you think are needed that doesn't exist yet within Sage Core tables, you can create a custom table and create a chat around it. And then lastly, we also provide for custom inquiries because now the chat tool is able to reach every user, every staff in the organization. We can take advantage of this tool to distribute data. So information across the company, for example, item status, SO status, PO status, anything that you can think of, we can create a template with a custom inquiry that can be triggered by the user. Now, in version 7.3, So 7.3 again is our latest version for 2026. Do note, same as barcode, sales anywhere, and manufacturing, our products are backward and forward compatible. So the current 2026 chat can work with Sage 2018 to 2026. So you don't need to upgrade Sage if you don't want to or can. You can still use the latest version of AC Chat. Some of the main new features that we have added to AC Chat include switching of companies by the chat user. So later on, I'll show this, but essentially the idea here is it could be the client can have different entities or companies that have the same approver or same person. So they can see chat messages coming from different companies, and it allows them to switch over without having to log out and log back in to see those messages and reply. We have also pushed some of the non-essential processing to the background. So, for example, when we print out documents, this can be printed on the background without freezing the screens, and then the system will just notify the user once this background process has been completed, and the user can just open the form. We do now also support draft material requisitions. When we do material requests, we can actually save it as a draft first until later when we are ready, post it as an actual requisition awaiting approval. And then we have also improved our AI expense claim entry. So instead of doing it one by one, we now can actually just upload a whole batch of uh, receipt images and have AI go through them, create the expense claims, and then submit for approval. And then lastly, we now also support the use of language packs. Since it is a chat solution, it's about communication, then we have to consider that we will have a lot of users that might be needing a specific language set. So as of now, we do have only English, Chinese, and simplified Chinese, I think. But we can generate language packs. So if our client requires, let's say, Spanish or French language pack, we can generate a field list. You can help us translate, and we can generate that language pack for you. So it won't be anything huge in terms of list of items to translate. It will be just less than 500 lines roughly. So it's not that hard to do. At the later part of today's session, we would also be showing you teamwork for Sage 300. So as Rob mentioned earlier, teamwork is actually a collaboration between AutoSimply and Orchid. This is combining the power of chat with the workflow functionality of Extender and the information sharing by note module to provide a complete workflow solution for Sage 300. So I'll go to this in a little while. So let me just end the slideshow there and then go back to our document here. So just as what we did for barcode and sales anywhere earlier today, what we want to do is start from scratch. So we want to use some LTT database, activate chat, set it up, and then have it run as is, just to show you how easy it is to do. Of course, before that, we would need to install chat. We don't have the time for that, so I'll just skip this part. But just know, same as barcode and sales anywhere, it is a app, so that means it's using web services. So again, we need to make sure that the web server of Sage will have the proper uh, features in IIS installed. So this document, I'm just highlighting what needs to be selected so that we can install AC chat and then deploy the app and connect properly. So You can just go through this setup guide at a later time. And then let's go now to Sage. So what I'll do is I will just restart IIS so that no files are locked in the system. So after we have installed AC Chat to Sage, it will be in the program file under AC73A folder. What we need to do now on this new database is go to data activation, proceed to activate AutoSimply Chat. So this part is standard 300 activation for any module. And then after activation, we just have to make sure that the web service config has been defined. But if you open the web service config, you would see that it's actually the same as barcode, the same as sales anywhere. So once our client has set up a web service config for one of our apps, it's actually true for all of the other solutions as well. So just note, this is the SQL Server SQL Server IP address or name. This is the web server IP address or name. This is the SQL user ID and password that we use to communicate with the database. And then the Sage 300 user ID here is the super user ID that we use for all chat users. So same as barcode and sales anywhere, we can have any number of chat users share one LAN pack of 300. One key differentiation here is in barcode and sales anywhere, users are concurrent. In chat, all the users are named. So you have to note that this would be named users, not concurrent users. So you can have 100 named users logging into chat, posting to Sage, only consuming one LAN pack in 300. And the reason why it's named user instead of concurrent user is just like how you currently use your messaging tools like WhatsApp or Viber or Teams. Once you log in, you typically don't log out anymore. So the same is expected for chat. When they log in the first time, we just expect them to be connected perpetually. So there is no concurrent user concept. At the bottom is the same buttons. The one thing I just need to highlight for those in the room just listening to our training today, note that we have here the test for common issues. So if you encounter any problem during the setup, you just have to run this routine. It will generate a log file as shown below. You can send that to us so that we can assess and maybe guide you through what might be wrong. So just know this is the log file or diagnostic tool to use for that. So that's the web service config. Now, once that is set up, the only thing we need to do on AC Chat, again, very similar to barcode and sales anywhere, is set up users. So this is now the AC Chat user setup. So let's just create a couple of entries here. So let's say this is Terrence. Password, same as sales anywhere. We are requiring uppercase, lowercase, and symbol for this. So this is now one user. I'll just create three more. So maybe Robert. So this could be Robert. Oops, spelling. Robert. Password. So we can play around later. And then I'll just add Anne. So this would be Orchid Anne Couchet, for those who are familiar with her. All right. And then maybe one more, Wallace. So Wallace, test, 1, 2, 3, 4, test, 1, 2, 3, 4. So right now we have created 4 users in the system. And actually, at this point in time, we already have enough to be able to chat. So let's go to IIS just to make sure that it is restarted. So now we can close IIS here and then go to our app. So this is now the AC chat tool. Let me just refresh this because I'm using the same device with prior installation. So I just need to log in, let's say, as Terrence here. And we do have a tool to clear out history, so restore chat history. So this is just cleaning up the data so that there is no residue information on the device. So at this point, you can see Terrence is already logged in into TST001, our Test SAM Ltd company. This is the chat. Contact list is Anne, Robert, and Wallace. So just to make it interactive, what I'll do is I will share my phone screen again. So let me just start streaming from my phone. Okay, so you can see this is just my phone casted to my laptop. I'll open AC Chat and then log out, log back in as TST001. This time around, maybe as Anne. You cannot see it because I'm logging in, and the casting tool doesn't allow it to be displayed. So again, I'll just restore chat history to clear off the residue data, and then come back here. Just log out and refresh, Mhm. and then log in again. All right. So this is now Anne logged into TST, so I can put them side by side. So the left-hand side chat is Terence, and then on the right is my phone. Logged in is Anne. So I can always put in a profile picture here to make it look nicer. But at this point, I can look at my contact list and maybe uh, using my Terence account here, send Anne a message. So maybe good afternoon. You can see that I'm getting that notification immediately from this is Anne getting the message from Terence, and of course you can always reply. So hi, something like that. So you can see it there. And just like any messaging tool, we can always use the camera to send, let's say, images. And we can, of course, also do any attachment. So let's just say desktop web config. So something like that. So we can send out files. So this is the chatting function, nothing very special. This is what we would expect to be able to do with like WhatsApp or Teams. But the major difference here, of course, is the fact that this chatting app is meant for Sage 300 usage. So that means all of this back and forth communication are getting stored within the database of Sage 300. It will never be deleted, never be lost. We would have a official audit trail or history of all business communication using the tool. All right. So that's the chatting part of AC Chat. And again, we did not really have to do anything, only set up the users, and it's already good to go. So the next setup here that you can see is Teams. But for Teams, this is just an option for us. So if we want to have like maybe a team, let's say team 01, this is auto simply, something like this. So maybe it will be Terence and Wallace to be part of that team and add. So again, nothing very strange as you would expect. If we create a team, then on the chat tool, we would just be able to communicate or send a message to that team. Now, the real power of AutoSimply chat is the linking to 300 data. By this, we are talking about master data, transaction documents, optional fields. So how do we do that? So this is now where templates come in. So we call it a template, and we can now create as many templates as we want. So maybe for starters, I will create a customer visit template. So maybe this is customer visit. Because it is a transaction revolving around customer, so as expected, we would be linking our AR customer master file to this template. Notice how we are exposing most of the master file and transaction document commonly in use in Sage. So you can see the vendor, the customer, item. You can see SO, PO, invoice, receipt, shipment, internal usage, transfer. So pretty much most of the transactions in Sage would be covered here, including manufacturing. So right now you don't see manufacturing there because we did not activate yet in Sage company, right? So now for this example, let's just link it to an AR customer. We then need to say which fields do we want to expose to the user. So on the top 5 rows here, these are hard-coded chat fields. So if I want to get a signature, if I want to have a priority flag, if I want a status flag, I can just select them to be enabled. Starting from this line downwards, these are actually optional fields that are defined in the AR customer AR customer table. So maybe I want to expose maximum order, minimum order, maybe note, maybe UPS zone, SIC code, maybe for whatever reason. So these are the fields I want to expose during my customer visit. I can then preset who, which users will be getting this communication by default. So maybe I'll just put Anne and Terence by default. Do I want them to be able to edit, update optional fields? Yes. Do I want them to be able to add or remove users? Yes. So this is now the setting. And then for custom inquiry, I'll come back to this a bit later. But just note, we can create any query that we want around this template later on. So let's just save this one. So now we have one customer template created within AC Chat. And with that, let's now go into my uh, screen here again. And let's use and to go to an action to create a template selection. Right now it's empty because we haven't refreshed yet. So you can see now that I can see the customer visit template, which we just created a while ago. I can select that. Here, I can then see which customers is available to this user. So let's just say it's custom comfort. By default, parents is already added to this chat. But if I wanted to, I can add Robert as well, and then let generate a template here. So you can see that the system is just validating that this is the correct customer that you have chosen. But now we have here a uh, chat template created around customer 1500. I can put in a message, please process ASAP. So this is now the message that I generated. And on Terence chat screen, you can see that I can immediately get that notification and maybe I will reply. We'll do so later. And then at this point, maybe as somebody that can edit, I will prioritize this to be very high. It's open and just save. So at this point, you can see Anne is getting that notification as well and can see what has changed from that optional field perspective. And then maybe eventually I do the customer visit as Terence. I can then go in here, change maybe the maximum order quantity to 800, minimum maybe to 200. Note, maybe schedule a visit next month. SIC code, maybe I change it to 4533. And then lastly, for UPS zone, maybe I change it to white. So these are just optional fields in AR customer that was exposed to this user. Maybe I want to ask the customer to sign to confirm that this was what we have discussed during that visit. And now we can disable those fields to make it accountable within the or auditable in the system. And I might want to print out a transaction listing and send it to the customer later as proof. So all of that is done by Terence. And you can see that from Anne point of view, I'm getting these notifications of what's happening. First, I can see the change in status, the level of priority. There is a message update of one. I can now see that we have made those changes. It's already disabled. At the same time, I can see that Terence also printed out a transaction listing report. So I can click on that line, open the PDF file, and you can see on my phone, this is now the transaction listing, which shows us an audit trail of what was changed. So for customer visit to 1500, I can see the previous optional field values was eventually changed to this set of optional field values, and I can see the signature of the customer. So that is a communication around customer created using a template, which links information in Sage and lets the user update fields within Sage easily. So now if we go to Sage 300, accounts receivable, AR customer master, it was 1500. So this is custom comfort. If we look at the optional field, you can see the changes done by AC chat on this optional field table. So this, imagine now all of the optional fields that you can expose to the correct user. So maybe it is an item evaluation. So somebody in my team is involved with checking the color of all items. So I can just create a color update template, send it to Terence, and have him go through all of the items one by one to update it as on a regular basis. So that could be a way to use AC chat. Now, let's also show you. what are some of the inquiries built in on the back end of the module. So under my AC inquiries, we have created here a dynamic template inquiry. So this could be inquiry one. Sorry, I meant inquiry 01. And this is maybe for customer visit inquiry. Right now, we only have one template to choose from, but you can see that based on the selected template, the system knows automatically what parameters were linked to it. In this case, there's a customer range and data field range. So these are the optional fields that I can then use as a basis to filter which specific record do I want to see. So I can add, right? And then trigger an inquiry. Right now, we only have one record, which is what we just created a while ago. It was last updated by Anne. And then you can see this is created by Anne, I'm sorry. And then this was a customer 1500. And you can see the optional fields that we use as a filter. If I click on details, I can see both the chat, so the back and forth between Anne and Terence, as well as any system messages with a timestamp, as well as the update history. So this is now the audit, like an audit trail for optional field values changed by the user. So all of this are recorded in the database of Sage. We can extract it from the back end. Of course, I can always see it on the phone, on the tablet using the chat app. But even from an admin point of view, we can see all of these transactions going on in AC Chat. All right. So that was a one basic example of creating a template. But now let's create something, maybe one more example here to make it interesting. So what if I want to create maybe a vendor item analysis of some sort? So I can create here a item vendor analysis to something like this. So nothing is stopping us actually from linking more than one field at a time. So I want to link IP item and maybe my AP vendor. On the workflow field, you can see I still have priority quality status if I want to select it, but maybe I'll just open status. For AP vendor, this is again vendor field on the vendor master. And then these are item fields in the item master optional field table. So maybe volume size, is it dangerous caller? And then who is involved in this chat? So maybe again, parents and Anne, and then just add. So now I have a second option here. And then this time around, we can have parents started. So under action, excuse me, I have a template selection. I want to just refresh this. So now I have item vendor analysis, and now you can see maybe this is a vendor 1540 offering us a new kind of desk lamp. I want to involve who. Let's just click on yes, create. I can check item detail, vendor detail if everything is correct, and then maybe send a message to Anne that please evaluate when possible. On the optional field, maybe I would mark it as open and then just save. So from the point of view of Anne, so let me share my screen again. Yeah. So this is now Anne on the right side. I got that notification. I got the message, and then I can go in, put in a note, okay. Vendor class might be service provider. Color might be pink. Is it dangerous or not? Size 120. Volume 25. So all of this we can update into the optional fields. Maybe I'll just make it as close as well. And then similarly, Anne can also print if I want a transaction listing. So all of that we can do. And similar to our example a while ago, maybe I was evaluating uh, sorry, it got disconnected, my phone. But anyway, I can see it from here while we wait for the phone to connect again. You can see that parents can open the transaction done by Anne via chat. You can see the change in the optional field values, and then we can communicate. Sorry, where's my screen now? We can see the changes made to the optional field. But this time around, the major change that we did was we combined two two fields. So vendor and item master to the chat. So we can do that kind of combination if needed. All right. So if that part is clear, let's now talk about custom inquiries. So we go back to template. This is now the custom inquiry screen. And we can essentially create any custom inquiry that we want using select statements. And the only parameter that we need to use to tie it back to our chat is the link we created on the template. So in our first example, we created a uh, a template around customer. So we know that the customer will be this one. We provided a legend to tell you what we are using as the code for that parameter, AR customer. And if we want to do a custom inquiry around customer, so maybe this is the customer address info. So to create a query, I'll just go into SQL here very quickly. So don't worry, we're not going to create a very complex uh, uh, select statement or any script of that matter. It's just a simple select. And I just want to show you how we are arriving at it. So if I go now here to SQL, and we are going to create a new query. So we are using TST01. This is our database. Yeah. So what we want is essentially customer information. So everybody here would know that's AR customer. And then for our purpose today, let's just keep it simple. Maybe all I want to get is the customer ID, name of customer, and maybe address 1, 2, and 3. Where's that? This one. Okay, text street. So TEXT street 1. I'll just make it the 2 text. So just these two first, for example. So we know in SQL that's just this value. And of course, If we wanted to get it for a specific record, it will be something like this. What 1500. So this is essentially what we want to see in the chat. So what I'll just do is copy this in our custom inquiry. You can see that this is the select statement I want to use, but obviously we cannot make it static like that. So it has to be basing on this ID cost. So this is the hard-coded parameter that we would be posting because we know this inquiry will be tied into my AR customer. We are using ID cost as the parameter. Just put in something like this as the value and save. So this is now a custom inquiry that we have created. And if we go back now to my template for customer, custom inquiry, I just want to add that in, save. If we now go back to our customer visit template a while ago, under the inquiry, I can see customer address, and you can see here data coming out of the system. So that's what we mean by custom inquiry. You can create any select statement that you want. Do note that to prevent any bad actors, we have added a logic to our app that limits only select statements. So we don't want people to run drop table, insert, those kinds of things, update. So it's going to be only select statement. And if you want to beautify it a little bit, then I can always go in here, maybe put a customer, like a code. Maybe this one now is name, and then this is now maybe address 1 and address 2. So all of the tricks that you want to do on SQL, you can just do it here as well. And if we refresh, so you can see, this is what we're doing at this point. So this is just a very, very basic example of what can be done. You know that you can already imagine what kind of query you may want to do later on. But let me just start the stream again. All right, so this is working. But what I was saying is, if you really want to do a more complicated query, one easy way would be maybe to use like SQL views. So you can create all of the table relationships, put it into several one or two views, and then just call out the final select statement using the custom inquiry. So imagine now creating maybe stock status inquiry, SO detail, SO header, anything that you can think of as a SQL query, as long as you know how to manipulate that the starting point must be the link uh, file or document to that template. You can then extract any information you want. All right. So that's just custom inquiry from template point of view. Now, I hope that that was clear. And later on, when we do maybe the examples with TeamWork, I'll show you a little bit more custom inquiries that we have created in the past. But that is just how it is set up, how it is linked to a template and used in AC Chat. Now, another main feature that we can do aside from the template function is requisition of materials within Sage. So the idea here is we want uh, We want to extend Sage 300 not only to the barcode warehouse user, not only to salesmen, but essentially to every other staff in the company that is indirectly using Sage 300. So, for example, if I was a staff consuming paper, and paper is an inventory item in Sage, then I could trigger a requisition to purchase, a requisition to use, or maybe request for a transfer of those items. It could also be branch managers. So in the case of the stock transfer function here, maybe I could have branch managers requesting for stock transfer from main warehouse to their location. So in the past, that could be an email, it could be something, a document submitted. But with AC Chat, I can trigger those transfers using just chatting tool. So how do we do that? So let's go back to our AC Chat module. What I would do is actually, even without extra setup, I can already do a material transfer request. But then there will be no approval and posting of it. So just to make it nicer, what I would do is I'll go to user, let's say Terence. I'll just keep it simple today. Uh, I would want to create approvers for what kind of transaction? Internal usage, transfer, requisition, expense, leave, time application. So let's just set it up so that for Terence, I'll just set up Anne as the approver to make it fast. So this is for internal usage, transfer, requisition, and might as well go for expense claim as well, leave, and time entry. So let's just say Anne is my supervisor for everything. So this is now setting up a one level approver in AC Chat. And with that, I can go into my chat module, go to action, maybe do an internal usage. So maybe I am replacing bulb in toilet. Which location am I assigned to? So maybe it's location one. Which item are we going to be needing? So maybe it's this A1105 item bulb. I can go in, change quantity, save. If I'm not yet finished with this, I can save as draft. So you can see now it's just a draft. There is no effect yet. There's just a pending request. And I can just go in there and eventually post. Maybe I want to add one more. Uh, Maybe let's add desk lamp as well. I want to have one desk lamp to go with it. I can then post. So this is now a internal usage request that is being processed in the background. I would expect to get a notification later on whether it has been created successfully or not. So I can see now that this internal usage tree has been created pending approval by Anne. It involves these two items. And if we go to Sage Inventory Control Internal Usage, I would be able to see that the last record is actually what we requested for. It is not yet posted because it's not yet approved. So even without the approver setting that I did a while ago, I can actually still create internal usage requests, but then it will just be no approval. But now if we go to my phone, this is now Anne getting that notification. So this is what is being requested. I can see the details. I can, if I have a custom inquiry, I can do it from here. But let's say in the real world, probably I need to provide a little bit more context to why I'm doing it. So maybe I would have to tell Anne, uh, bulb is not working anymore. Need to replace ASAP. So all of this back and forth communication, justification, and any question that a supervisor or approver may need to ask and get clarifications about, all of that would be fed into the chat tool for tracking and documentation. Eventually, let's say Anne approves of this request. So now I can see that there's an approval triggered by Anne, and immediately Terence can see the update of that status. And if we go back to Sage now and refresh, you can see that we have already posted the internal usage in 300. So think of any manner of internal usage that the client may want to do by anybody in the organization. Have them be able to do it in a simple, easy manner, and have all of that already posted and stored within Sage 300. That is the material requisition functionality of EasyChat. So before I talk about security and anything to that effect, let's just quickly show you the others. So that was internal usage. If it was request for purchase requisition, it would be the same. So maybe need to buy this item, what location, what item, so maybe bulletin board and melanin board. So these two, one each. When do I need it? Maybe by next Monday. Reference, uh, we can just put something here as reference and then submit. So without going through draft, we can do that. So that is a purchase request. And maybe, as I said, if I was the branch manager, monthly replenishment, I want to say from location one, please request for stock transfer to location three for which item. So maybe this top three items here, I need uh, five. I need 1 dozen of this. And then maybe for this one, I need three. And I can submit. So this is now very quickly creating a purchase request and a stock transfer request. On the chat side, as you would imagine, I'm getting notification. So transfer request was posted successfully and the purchase request was created as well. I can see requisition number 10 for this two items and I can see transfer request for this two items as well. And of course, if we go this goes back to ask screen, so I am getting this requisitions and it's just a matter of again asking questions, confirming. I can approve or reject as needed. So this is now approving the purchase request. This is now approving the stock transfer. And again, we are getting instant notification through the app and transfer number 5 and request number 10. So for purchase request, it would just be a requisition that is not put on hold. So the last requisition number 10, you can see, was approved by Anne and it's not on hold anymore after approval. For the stock transfer, that would be under inventory control, transaction, transfers. I would see here that we have made this request, uh, 1 dozen, 5 and 3 pieces. and now it has already been posted. So those three requisitions was handled by AC Chat with pretty much no prior setup needed, just for the approval. Now, another thing that we want to discuss here before I forget is the uh, option or the capability to limit the user as to what they can see. So very similar to what we were doing in Sales Anywhere and Barcode, it just makes sense that certain users should not be able to see all items, all customers, all vendors, maybe all master files in that sense. So what we would do is in AC chat, there is a AC user security group setting. So here I can select which uh, icon or data do we want to put a security around. It can be workflow, it can be customer, it can be vendor, item, location, even user, as well as location from to location to. So for workflow, it's just in case you are going to create a lot of template. When we say workflow here, we are referring to the template. Uh, if we let's say create 100 templates, it could be that specific users may only need 5 or 10 of them. So that way we can limit which templates can be seen by the user. So that's for the workflow. The same for customer, vendor, and item. So if I create here a customer group one, so maybe like Ronald Black, Courtyard, Custom Comfort, Coastal. So maybe just this four, and then I'll just do it for one more. Let's say item. So maybe item 01. So maybe it's just this, this, and this. So maybe just five. So this is now going to limit our user just to this group of customer or item. So location is the same. We can limit it to only a couple of locations. Maybe the only one that needs to be explained here is user and location from and to. For user, it's just allowing us to limit who can talk to who. So maybe in some situations, you don't want, let's say, low-level staff, let's say drivers, maybe couriers, sending a message directly to the CEO. So you may want to to create a hierarchy of people talking to who, and maybe it's just uh, junior management talking to supervisors, supervisors talking to dispatchers, dispatchers to drivers. So it's up to us to set up that kind of control. Another key thing to highlight here is, let's say, the location from to. So location is for transact. This is for any other transactions aside from stock transfer. So when you're doing for example, a material request, a purchase request, then that's the location code that is being referred to here. Maybe I want to limit the user to only be able to access location one. For the from to, this is now, of course, in relation only to transfer. So it's just because it's possible that I don't have access to that location for other transactions except as designating it as my source location for stock transfer. The same can be for to. So maybe I don't have access to that location to do anything else, but I can choose to transfer stock from warehouse to that location. So that's why we allow a special security per user for the from to field in location. All right. So if let's say this is the case, then I'll just close it and then update parents under security to have a limitation with regard to customer. And then for item, limited to this, for example, and save. So the effect would be if I go back now to my, this is Terence, double check. Yep, this is Terence. Let's say I want to do a customer visit again. If I search, now you can see it is limited to just those four customers, not anymore all customers, and I can just proceed to do this. So that's from a template point of view. And then the same would go for item if we do it using the user security setting. All right. So at this point, we were able to cover creating chat users, chat templates. We have shown you how to create a custom inquiry. We have shown you how we can do material requisition, stock transfer, as well as purchase requisition using the chat app. And then the last topic we talked about is setting up of security groups to further limit what the user is able to see and do in Sage 300 chat. So if that part is clear, uh, before we proceed to teamwork, let's now talk about the other functions in AC chat. So this is done. This is done. Now we are talking about expense claim, leave, and time entries. So these are uh, transactions which are not necessarily related to the operation modules of 300. It is not tied up with any HRM solution for Sage. We're just allowing the user to take advantage of the chat app to be able to create this form of data submission. All right. So how to set it up and how to use it. So we have to go back to Auto Simply Chat here. So first, let's try to set up, let's say, leave application. So that is a bit the easiest one there. So for us to be able to use leaves, we need to go to the options now for leave. Notice now that this is just a document series, so we don't need to change it. But note option here that later on we can activate it for use in teamwork. For now, let's leave it as that. And then for the setup, I want to create a leave table wherein maybe I want to say annual leaves as well as maybe sick leaves. So that's basically the only thing we need to set up here. On the user side, so let's say Terence again, we have set up that my approver for leave is Anne. So I just need to assign to Terence what sort of leaves and how many does Terence have for this period of time. So let's say I'll just say 10, 10. So, and that's it. We would actually have enough information to create leave applications. So let's go now to the chat module again. And then this time around, I'm doing an action for leave. Maybe, for example, maybe I was sick last Monday, so I'll create a new leave. Maybe I was sick for maybe just the morning, so it's like half a day. And then maybe was not feeling well, and maybe there is some sort of document that I can use to prove I can make any attachment here. So let's say something like that. Of course, it's not really new, but maybe this is a medical certificate that I want to use as proof of my sickness. So I can submit this. So I can see here that there is a leave pending for approval. I can go to inquiries on the app and see from May 4 to May 7, what are the records that I can see? Right now, there's only sick leave application, and this situation is still pending. So with that, if I go now again to my phone, oops, got disconnected again. Uh, let's just start the stream again. All right. So you can see that from Anne's point of view, there was the sick leave request. I can see it's half day sick leave. I can open the document that was attached. I can then, of course, ask why, how, who, when, and then eventually maybe approve or reject. So I can approve, and this is now an approved leave. So it doesn't affect Sage in any way. There is no effect to payroll at this point in time. It's just a data that we are gathering, going through approvals uh, for leave, and the same for annual leaves as well. So maybe if I want to apply for a annual leave, maybe for 28 to 29, or maybe 28 to 29, so 2 days. This is sorry, I'm doing this for Anne, who doesn't have any leaves yet. I should be doing it for Karen. So let me go back. Action leave. So if it was a sick leave, if it's an annual leave, I mean. So annual leave from 28 to 29, so it's 2 days. Maybe going to Manila for vacation. I can attach the plane ticket, submit. So I can see this is under request. This is already approved. So you can see the difference in status. And the inquiry shows me from May 1 to May 31, what sort of data are we looking at? So that's just a simple leave inquiry. Now, if we use this time around, let's use Anne for time entries. So I'll go back to my AC chat, AC user, and this time around, just so that we don't have to log in and out, I'll go to Anne. Under approvers, I'll just say that for expense and for time entry, this will be done by Anne and then approved by Terence. So if this was the case, let's open up the screens again. All right. And then just double check for the options. So again, time entry is basis for if we want it to be connected to Teamwork later on, we can do that. And I cannot change it without closing the other screen, but this is good enough. And if I go now to my phone here, and then just proceed to do a time entry. So for time entry, we have two types. One is time attendance, one is time entry. So for attendance, this is actually just a recording of a start and stop time for maybe people working outside the office. So maybe work from hotel today, and then this is now a time record started on the mobile device. I can then maybe link my time to a specific sales order or customer. So maybe this is related to Courtyard, and then maybe this is training. And then start it. So this is now two time clocks running in the background with matching GPS coordinates. And eventually, of course, what will happen is we would finish with whatever it is that we are doing and just stop and capture a recorded time. So let's just say that we have completed it. I'll stop it. So this is now 4:09 to 4:10. And then for time attendance, I can stop it as well. And now we have all of those records. So if we go back to the time entry inquiry, you can see what we have just done. If we do to time attendance inquiry, we would see what was done. So all of that is handled in the app. And if I needed it to be required for approval, then it will ask for approval. But right now we did not do that. But that's just to quickly show you what the time entry, and time attendance is all about. Now let's go and do the last transaction there that we haven't done yet. That would be the expense claim. So for expense claim, we would need to do some additional setup. So we have to go into AC setup and create at least what type of expense claims do we have. So maybe one is food. So maybe this is, all right, not food. Doesn't sound good. Let's say meal. So this is a meal expense. And then what AP distribution code do we want to use for this? Let's just say it's purchase miscellaneous. So notice that for the expense types that we are creating, we are linking it to the AP distribution code. And you already know why, because eventually we want the expense claims that we apply and approve to eventually make its way to the AP batch invoice screen for payment. So let's say this is now, let's say travel. So maybe this is travel expenses. And I'll just pick out travel, and then one other more, other. So this is other expenses, and then I'll just pick maybe this one, other records. So we have three types. Let me just close the other screen. And then that's expense. Department is optional, and calendar is optional. But you can see the goal here is to create departments and then have a GL override, whereby we can say that if it is, let's say, meal expense, we can have it by cost center, travel expense by cost center as well. So that's where the department would come in. But this is not absolutely required. If we go now to the AC options for expenses, I have here several options. So first, do we want to enable AI scanning? So AI, of course, refers to the use of AI to read receipts, populate your claim, and then submit it. So this would incur tokens. That's why we have an option to turn it on or off. Do we want to post the expense claim to AP invoice? And then what is the default expense type? Let's say it's other. And then if the exchange rate is older than how many days, should we be picking up the exchange rate from the web instead of from Sage? So that is a possible setup here. So we can save this. Again, we are not using TeamWork to generate it for now. The end result is if I now go into my chat app, so this is parents, I can then create an action for expense claim. I want to create a new expense claim. This is maybe a Toronto trip, expenses for Toronto travel, maybe today. I can then scan receipts one by one using my phone camera. But if I want to make it fast, I can just get it from the gallery of my phone. And then let's say I want to pick the first four and then upload it to my AI server. So this is now the AI reading the receipts that we have uploaded one by one, generating an expense claim for us. And now all the user has to do is verify for correctness. So in this case, we are just checking, let's say for this receipt, it's actually in Thai. So we can see only the amount that we are billing. It's 119 Thai. It is a meal. This is also a meal for Thai baht, 459. Yeah, it's okay. And then this is, well, I picked up all meals. So this is now like 170 by 200 actually. Yeah, total is 200, that's correct. And then this is a total of 159, so it's correct. So this is now what we are submitting for expense claim. And of course, prior to submission, we can change, but eventually we can just post. The system can do some minor checking versus budget, maybe by the department or by individual. Can you book or can you claim more than a certain amount? So all of that can be generated. Uh, all right, so I have to check why. But that is essentially how we are generating the expenses. So I have to check. I think for the I have some issue with the USD currency here. So the user okay, okay. I know. So sorry, I forgot something. Let me do that again. So for parent, I forgot to link it to a vendor code. So I wanted to post this to Sage as an AP. Then I need to tell the system first who the user is from an AP vendor perspective. So sorry about that. Just pick the say no. I have to save this. The rest here actually are just default. So default location for transfer, default category for internal usage, default location for other transactions. But the reason why it failed a while ago is because I did not specify who parents was from an AP point of view. So with that, let me just make sure that it would reflect. I'll just log out and log back in very quickly. So since we set it up to want to create an AP invoice, it needs to have that connection. So I'll do expense claim. I'll create very quickly. So all expenses. And then I wanted to use AI again. I'll just pick the first three, for example. Let AI process it. So now it should be able to detect that I have a company that is linked to this user. Then you can see tieback. The AI is able to determine what kind of expense it is, what is the amount in question, what exchange rate should be done. I can put some comments here as needed, and then eventually, if everything looks good, just add it to my expense claim and submit for approval. So you can see now that we have created expense claim number one, and then this is now set to Anne for approval. So of course, from Anne's point of view, I just have to go back to my phone here and have it approved. You can see expense claim there. I can see what is in there. If I have questions, I can ask, but eventually I can approve it. So this is now just creating a very simple routine to generate AP invoice. And if we go now into accounts payable, transaction, invoice batch list, I would now have here a new entry from today, which is what we have created in expense claim number one. So this is the vendor link in the user. So again, if we're just looking for a simple to use leave application, time capture, as well as expense claim solution, the AC chat module can already do it. All right. So that's in a nutshell what AC chat can do by itself, only AC chat, right? What we now want to show you is when we add extender and notes from Orchid, what else can we do? So for this part, we don't have time to go through the setup and all review. So I'll just show you an example of it. So let me now log out of this sample database and proceed to our OAP database. So this is now our TeamWork sample database. And the key thing to note here is extender from Orchid has been set up. Information manager has been set up. So these two modules are, uh, are modules from Orchid, not AutoSimply anymore. And it is paired with our AutoSimply chat. So these three combined is what we refer to as teamwork. And the extra functionality that we are adding here is mainly the automatic notification as well as workflow processing of select transactions in Sage 300. So what do we mean by that? So under the extender workflow rules, we have here several out-of-the-box transactions where we have already pre-built notification as well as approval processes. So the one that we show quite a lot is sales order approval. So in this case, we have in Extender created a easily configurable what, how, who needs to approve that workflow. So in this case, we are looking at a sales order approval. Uh, in the workflow rules, we have set up the following parameters, whereby based on discount percentage and location, you can see if the discount is greater than 10% and the location is 1, Terence will be approving this order. If the discount is greater than 10, but the location is 2, Anne will do the approval. If it was between 5 to 10%, it will be approved by Steve and then Anne. So you can see there's a 2-level approval here. And the screen already implies the fact that we can actually go up to as many as 5 levels of approval, as well as the fact that it can be approval by specific user or user group. So if you have uh, if Terence is not here, Wallace will approve. That would be a group, and we can have as many as 5 levels to eventually approve a transaction. And then the last here is if there's a discount less than 5%, no approval is required. So if this is the setup, then all we have to do is create now an example whereby if I create a sales order, so this is now going back to Sage order entry for customer 1400. Let's say it was for item A110, sorry, A11030 for location 1, quantity of 100, and maybe we put in uh, a discount percentage of 12%. So this would now match our parameters in the workflow. I can post this, and you can see on the background, teamwork is actually being triggered. So extender is checking for the rules that works around this particular sales order. As that order was being created, extender knows that it should be put on hold. So you can see it's now on hold. The reasoning is because there's a discount more than 10% and location is 1. At the moment, this order is awaiting approval by Terence. So that is exactly what we have set up our workflow rules to be. This extra page on the right-hand side is actually a note. So this allows a back office user to see what is happening to that particular document in terms of teamwork approval. So even if I'm not a teamwork user, I'm not using chat, I can at least see what's happening. And with this, let me now go to my phone. I have to log out here and then switch back to parents. Oops, sorry. My password. And then we are using OA Teams now. So as the approver, I would be getting that notification. So you can see I have here order 96 on top, awaiting approval. This is the detail around that sales order. And notice again, all of our approval are essentially chat approvals. So you have the back and forth to go with that. So I can ask question, what is this for? Uh, why this discount? So I can ask all of these questions. These questions, once answered, can be seen by the next level approver. So it's not just chat sending you a box to approve. It's actually the whole thread. So it's just like Gmail threads, wherein I can see what did parents ask, what did Anne say, what did Wallace do, and eventually arrive at a decision. So if I just refresh the screen, I would see that for order 96, the chat messages, did it refresh? Let me just go there. Order 96, you can see that the questions from Terence also pops up in the notes. And then if we go now to custom inquiries, you can see in this example, we have created a couple of inquiries around this approval. So as I'm doing a SO approval, maybe I need to know who is the customer contact, talk to them. Maybe I want to see where it's going to be shipped. Maybe I need to see customer AR statistics. What is the status in AR at this moment? And then maybe a customer address. So all of that, the four that I just showed you, are all custom inquiries that we have pre-populated and linked to this SO approval routine. If I have any optional fields that I want to update while I'm doing this approval, it's all here. And then I can sign if I want to, but eventually I can approve. And this is now triggering a approval via Teamwork. So you can see it's running in the background. I can do other things. but eventually I will be notified that order 96 has been approved successfully. And if we just refresh on the Sage desktop, I can now see that this has been approved by Terence with the comment that this is okay. And then you can see that the SO is not anymore on hold. So that's a very simple example of how we are using uh, Teamwork to take care of SO approvals. So to emphasize again, what is the difference with just using chat approval? In chat, we only have a one level approval routine, and that is actually only limited to select transactions. So if you remember a while ago, we were only doing approvals for internal usage, purchase request, stock transfer, expense claim, leave, and time. But for teamwork, the scope is actually almost all of Sage 300. I can create an approval process or notification process, SO, PO, internal usage, stock transfer, GL, AR, AP, batch posting. When new customers are created, new vendors are created, new items are created, all of these things that is being done on the Sage ERP side can be triggering an approval or a notification process within Teamwork. This is because we are using Extender. And for those of you who are familiar with Extender, you would know that Extender is essentially uh, tracking or keeping an eye on the views of Sage. So when something happens, let's say a new item is created, the system can automatically trigger, let's say, a template for item evaluation to be sent to who if parameter A, B, C is met. So that creation of template messaging notification can be configured to capture different scenarios. Unlike earlier in our training this afternoon, whereby I was manually creating the template, manually selecting who will be getting it, and manually posting it. Teamwork can do that for me based on those parameters. So that was an example of SO approval. If we wanted to do it, let's say for another scenario, what if I want to do purchase requests? So I'll go back to Extender, setup, workflow rules. I can look for, let's say, purchase requisition. Where is that? This one. I can do it for PO as well, but you can see this is the purchase requisition approval logic. So based on this, we are using the as basis an amount. If it's less than 1,000, but location is 1, it needs Terence to approve. If the document is less than 1,000, but the location is 2, it is Anne. And then if it is greater than 1,000, it needs Anne and then Steve to approve. So all of that setting is done via the workflow rules. And if you click on the search button here, this is now showing us a list of commonly used parameters to create this workflow rules. But if you want more, actually you can click on function F6. Oops, sorry, F6, and you can see that nothing is actually stopping you from using any field or column in that table, whether it's header or detail table. So essentially, you have the freedom to create any sort of rules that you want around Sage 300 data. So let's just maybe create an example here for Anne Steve. And what I'll do is, since I am already connected to AC Chat here, I can just do action, purchase request, Oh, but I don't know the amount. Uh, okay, it's less than 1,000. Let's do less than 1,000 and then and to approve. So let's see. So location two, this is now where I am making my request. This is maybe past uh, teamwork. And then what item do I want to buy? So maybe bulletin board and these two board then, and marker. So one each, let's say I want to buy, and then I want to submit. So this is now parents creating a purchase request from AC chat, and now I'm getting this notification that this requisition 41 has been created. And you can see as the requester, I get a notification that it is pending for approval by who, why. So this is the rules that we are following inside of Teamwork. And if we look at requisition 41, of course, in Sage, I would see here a requisition entry that was created by Terence that because it's location 2, it is now on hold, awaiting approval by Anne. So this is now the purchase request. And let me now just share my screen again from my phone for Anne. So let me just log in and then cast my screen again. Just give me a moment here. So for AC chat, now we are logging into 8018. This is Anne. And then let me just log in here very quickly. So yep, you can see it's popping up. And then you can see that the top line is a request for approval coming from uh, actually from Teamwork that created that requisition. It was Anne. It was Terence. Why? Maybe I can ask. So this is the message from Anne, and then Terence can reply. Just testing. Please approve. So this could be the back and forth. And then again, I can use my custom inquiry. So I can maybe use this to check for request header information. So this was testing for Teamwork, okay? And then if I wanted to see the item detail, oh, it is actually these 3 items of this quantity. I can put a cost there if I wanted to. And then eventually approve if we want to. Or maybe let me check. Do I have a, okay, here I have a signature. So maybe I want to put in a buyer. So let's say Tony, ASAP is my node. I can sign. So this could be Anne submit approving this purchase request. And then I can print it, print the purchase requisition form. While it's doing that, I can already approve the request. So now this is getting all of those things real time. I can see it has been approved. And then if I look at the Sage 300 screen, so for purchase request, and just refresh here, I would see that it has been, I can see the back and forth communication. I can see the message of approval. Now it is not on hold anymore. And then at the same time as Terence, I can see what was printed out. Oh, I did not. Okay. I did not create that correctly. But I should be able to see the requisition form printed out from that document there. But that's just a question of setup on my form. But essentially, that's the idea. We can do all of those process approval as needed using Teamwork. And another very common scenario would be, let's say, order shipment. So based on what we have already approved for a sales order processing, maybe I want to do a shipment. So I'll just do a quick shipment here. Uh, yeah, it's order 96. So maybe I want to ship 20 of the 100 I ordered. So I can post that. So nothing very special. We can create a shipment notification here to advise, let's say, the dispatchers, the drivers, to get a proof of delivery. So this could be the messaging. So no approval required. It's just an example of a notification being automatically created at the point of a transaction. This case, a shipment. So going back to my phone here, I, I'm getting, let's say, the shipment notification that somebody needs proof of delivery. Maybe I want to take a picture. I can attach something. So let's say something like this, maybe a bomb export file. I can attach a file as needed. I can go into the maintenance of the optional fields here and maybe sign. This is the customer confirming delivery. And then again, I can print this time around the shipment form. So it can generate that form while I'm waiting. And then all of this are getting updated to the back end. So if I am now the back office person, the dispatcher or the operator, I can see what's happening. I can even open attachments if I want to. So this is the bomb export file that I attached a while ago. This is I printed out the file here. So I can see this is now the shipment form insert and signature. So this is, for example, how notification would work with TeamWork. So imagine what else you can do with it. So let's say stock balance checking if you want. So anything that can be triggered based on Sage data can be a notification, like an alert within TeamWork. So either it's approval or notification, and then everything that we are doing is getting recorded within the Sage database with audit trail, and then management can see it whenever required. So that essentially is what Teamwork is doing. The one trick thing, the last thing to highlight before I forget, is when we are using Teamwork, we need to set the approvers to have a linked Sage user ID. So this is the Sage user I'm using for Anne. The reasoning for that is in Extender, in their license file, they have a designated workflow approver, the workflow users here. So these are the approvers that you need, and we need them to be linked to the Sage user ID. So this is on the extender side, and that's one thing that we need to match in AC chat. All right. Now, in conclusion for teamwork, if we were just talking about AC chat, then we only need to purchase the base module for chat, and then how many named users do we need? If we are adding extender, then we also need to add the runtime extender plus how many approvers we need to work with those chat users. So a common order would look like teamwork core plus how many approvers plus how many chat users only. So if you are just looking at maybe 10 people chatting with two approvers and teamwork, then we can code according to that spec. So there must be a knowledge as to how many approvers, and that would be enough for a quotation. So I think that's a very brief overview of teamwork and chat. And I think for the next 15 minutes, we can open the floor to questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Terrence.
Mhm,
Actually, there were just a couple of comments and one question,
mhm,
uh, which has to do with where the training videos will be available, and that is going to be on the RLA YouTube channel. We will send out the link when the videos are available and posted, ready for viewing. So thanks for that
mhm,
reminder. And there was a question about the possibility for a SQL custom query to return multiple detail line information on related orders. So you can see details on who the order is going to and who approved it. But then they came back 10 minutes later and said it looked like you answered the concern by showing that a PDF of that form can be associated and viewed from a mobile app. So I think that was the main question that came out of this session, and it's been
mhm.
answered.
All right. Yep, but just to quickly address the custom inquiry query. So the way that we are displaying the queries, it's actually going down. So essentially, when you are creating the select script, the more columns you put there, it just goes down. Every row in that query will be a separate section. So that's how it would look. So something like uh, this one is just maybe a good example would be the PO. So something like this. So if the select statement has 5 columns, it will be 5 rows. And then if the item detail has 3 item lines or rows, it will then be 3 sections. So it just depends on how complex the uh, select statement would be. All right.
All right. That looks like it.
Okay. So again, thank you for joining our session today. It's a lot of training in one sitting. Hopefully, you picked up a lot of knowledge there.
Yes. Thank you very much for attending today. We appreciate your ongoing support of AutoSimply Solutions. And if you have any follow up questions, please feel reach out to myself and Terrence, and we'll be happy to respond.